Can you guys hear me okay? I'm not Special Agent Orange, although I have the hair, so Vietnam vet, I'm not a threat. I am a retired veteran. I served in 6 or 7 different conflicts, 8 years overseas. I'm retired and I work for the vet centers. I work for the VA. I'm a separate agency than the hospitals. But when I was sitting here listening to people talk, I was hoping that Tom Reeser would have had some more time, because he covers a lot of programs that he didn't talk about. He has programs for the blind. They have big giant clocks. They have special reader boards, special electronic equipment so you can't see. They do a lot of stuff. So at another time and place, I hope that Tom Reeser gets another chance to get up here and talk, because he has, I'm not going to say infinite, but to me it sounds like infinite programs. I also want to introduce a guy named Cameron Davis. Where's he at? Cameron, stand up, so because we all got neck injuries because we're all getting older. Cameron back there is a combat vet, served in Iraq, a wounded combat veteran, and I'm going to tell you something. He works at registration for the VA. He's an awesome guy. If you're ever trying to find your service records or your medical records, because sometimes the military puts them in strange places, since we had a fire down at the archives years ago, and he can pull up the ink, and he helps a lot of people do that. If you're not registered for medical care and you're a veteran, you need to stop by that table and get registered. You don't have to be a combat vet, although that is an automatic for getting registered at the VA hospital. But if you are low income, a series of different things disabled, he can get you registered today. All right? So don't go home without trying to get registered for VA health care. It's really an awesome thing, especially when I'm looking around seeing the costs of everything. Like I said, though, I don't represent the hospital, although I do represent the VA. I represent the vet centers. Daryl Heisey, probably one of the best known veteran service officers in North Idaho, period. You guys need to get to know him. If you haven't filed for disability, I'm going to encourage you to do it. I see a lot of World War II veterans out there. Who's a World War II vet? My hat's off to you, the greatest generation, it really is. World War II vets came back home from war, and they were told to shut up and go back to work. A lot of them had PTSD, post-traumatic stress. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I don't know any vet that, you know, I've done multiple tours like a lot of veterans, but, you know, they spent the whole time, it wasn't a year, it wasn't a year and a half, they spent 5 years gone away from their families. And they came back and they went to work, and there really were problems. A lot of them came back and drank, and weren't sometimes the greatest fathers either, because of the irritability and the nightmares and the sleeplessness, but they always wanted to be. They were good providers, though, I'll give you that. And if you're a wife of a World War II vet, you know what I'm talking about. Things didn't leave the house in World War II. So not like today where everybody goes out and calls CPS and all the other things. Nothing left the house of a World War II vet, nor the Korean War vet. Korean War vets came back and people told them it wasn't a war, it was a conflict. Well, by God, it really was a war. And I'm going to tell you something. There are what we call presumptive conditions, and one of those areas, gray lines of that, is people that suffered from frostbite. You know, we didn't have the best clothing back then. First people to deploy to Korea were people from Fort Lewis, believe it or not, and they had nothing but small arms. And pretty soon the Chinese and the Koreans came running over the border. These guys ran out of ammunition. They were throwing their rifles at everybody. There were a lot of wounded. They had no notice to go over there. My hat's off to you folks too. Our Vietnam vets went to war. It wasn't a popular war, maybe in the beginning. Started out as field advisors. Had a lot of special forces people over there. They went over there and they fought hard. A lot of people died in the jungles. It was jungle warfare. They weren't set up for that. They were up against AK-47s, one of the best machine guns ever made. And we had M16s, which we still use, that jammed quite a bit. If you were over there, you know what I'm talking about. In the beginning, the VA said, well, you know, we did use Agent Orange because a lot of people are coming back with cancer, different types of diseases and sicknesses and illnesses and skin problems. First they said, well, it was only those areas these listed areas, but it really was everywhere, because everybody knows that every base was, and every fire base was sprayed with Agent Orange to bring all the plants down so we could see the enemy. And so it actually is in the ecosystem. It's pretty nasty stuff. If you're a Navy vet and you served in Vietnam, there is a list of ships now that can serve or file for Agent Orange. I want you to know that. Daryl Heisey has it, I have that. I got a group of service officers that work out of my building that can help you with that too. So Agent Orange, pretty nasty stuff. You guys came back and people really did spit on you. People really did call you baby killer. People wouldn't hire you. It was a terrible tragedy. Vietnam vets came back and were betrayed by this nation, and it's unforgivable. North Idaho, believe it or not, folks, is full of Vietnam veterans living up in the mountains, and they'll never come down. We all know of Dennis Weaver, right? Ruby Ridge. Boys in Kellogg say that's nothing. They got more firepower. But I got to tell you, they're there. We do what we call stand downs. Brandy back there works with the employment office, puts on one of the biggest stand downs in the nation now. It's in the top 3. It's called the post-fall stand down once a year. $500,000 of surplus equipment, clothing, boots, really cool stuff. You guys get a new uniform. Come on down to that post-fall stand down. They feed you, get your medical care. VA's there. We'll take care of you. All the agencies come together for one common cause, take care of veterans. So make sure you make a stand down. Talk about, somebody said dental care, that there wasn't a plan. There is a plan called, if you're retired, Delta Dental Plan. It's not cheap. It's probably $100 a month for a couple. It's more if you got kids at home. Hopefully nobody here has them. Okay? God. I'm going to tell you what, yeah, I hear some people, oh, I wish I could adopt, but you know, the Al-Qaeda is really teenage kids. So we all know what it's like to raise a teenage terrorist in our home, don't we? Okay, I don't want to go through that again. I made myself some notes here, and I hope I don't go over the time. Hope I'm not boring, because if I am boring, you can kick my butt out in the hallway, I'll let you. I do a parade every year. I'm with the, anybody go to the Lilac Torchlight Parade downtown in Spokane? Look, I got a guy that was a movie producer for all the vehicles, Saving Private Ryan, Jarhead, Flags of Our Fathers. He donates the vehicles every year, so I have like 8 to 12 vehicles. I've got 2 of them for World War II vets. I got 1 for Korean War vets. I got vets galore vehicles. And for my older vets, I set them up in a special area downtown where it's air conditioned, so they don't have to wait too long. I want all of you in the parade. My phone number, I'm 509 because I'm living in Spokane there. I want you to take note of my number. If you can remember anything and you know it's in Spokane, you know it's 509, my number is 444-VETS. I'm 4 vets 3 times. It's real easy to remember. But if you're old like me and you look at the dial on the phone or the push buttons and you got all the letters, it's 8387. 444-8387, 444-VETS. And that's going to be a test question at the end of this talk. So I'll just let you know that. I brought some benefit books from the VA. I didn't bring that many because I didn't realize we were going to have such a big crowd. If you want to come make an appointment with me and you want to go over your benefits or any of that stuff in a nice setting, no stress, get an hour of my time, I'm glad to do that. And probably I'll refer you out to people like Brandy and people like Daryl, people like Cameron, people like Tom, and all the other people that are here. But I know everybody in the community and what people do, so I come up with a game plan for you if you'd like to do that. On page 112 of that book is something really important. It's about Social Security. Social Security, the government didn't pay enough at one time, had to go back and pay. So when you go file for Social Security, you better darn well tell them you're a veteran, show them your discharge paperwork. Because you might be entitled up to $100 more than everybody else per month. So take note of that. Service records. A lot of them were burned up. You can get them rebuilt. If you got your discharge paperwork, we can do that. And Daryl can probably help with that too. So you want to do that. Also a service that Daryl didn't tell you about that he or I or my service officers can provide is I get all a replacement set of all your medals for you. Every veteran in here better have their medals up in a shadow box on the wall. When I got out of the service, my wife said to me, well, I was first sergeant. She goes, you got all that stuff, maybe you can build a room down in the basement. Well, dude, that ain't gonna happen today or tomorrow or any day. My stuff's up on the wall in my living room, and anybody that comes to my house darn well knows I'm a veteran, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Any veteran can have a flag form for him. When you retire, they give you one. They put one on your casket when you die. But if you want one sooner, it still costs $19. But I can have that baby flown above the Capitol or the White House on any day that you choose. So if you want to do that, you just pay for the cost of the flag. Let me know. Our congressional leaders provide that as a service. Hearing aids. He said it. Everybody in here, you know, we're all hoping that I get closer to the mic. We all got hearing problems, including myself. Everybody was exposed to loud noises. I don't know anybody that didn't fire a gun. If you got hearing loss, like Daryl said, you need to file for it. Even 0%, which is a disability rating, will get you free hearing aids at the VA. The VA doesn't give you the cheap stuff. I'm going to be honest, they're probably the best darn hearing aids I've ever seen. They're the kind that you don't see that go inside your ear. They're computer enhanced. Heck, there's so much technology in there, I'm scared. But they really are top-line hearing aids. If you get tinnitus, like he said, which is ringing in the ears all the time, which is a normal thing, sometimes you don't even notice it because you've had it so long. You know, a lot of people turn on the radio at night just so they go to sleep. But if you have that, that's 10%, no more, no less. And that 10% will also entitle you to hearing aids. If you're 10% or more service connected within the VA, you're going to get free hearing aids for life and free eye vision care. One of their optometrists is an MD over there who saved my father's life. He was seeing little bright stars, and they looked at him, and he had a clogged carotid artery. Saved him. I'm going to tell you what, if you've ever had an eye exam, nobody ever does it better than the VA, I'll tell you that. Best darn eye vision care I've ever seen, bar none. They work with diabetics because that's a condition of Agent Orange, one of them. They do tests that I've never seen done before. So there are some really great things. Sometimes you hear problems with access to care, and sometimes some of those things are true, but I'm going to tell you what, when you get in, especially those programs are top-notch. Prosthetics, another thing Tom covers. You know, there's just a variety of programs. And prosthetics are not just you know, artificial arms and stuff, okay? It can be anything that helps you that's non-medicine, okay? So he has a lot of knowledge. So I encourage you to come and talk to him, invite him back another day. If you got other questions, I'm sure he can answer them. What is the signature wound of the war that we're currently in, folks? Traumatic brain injury, okay? I've seen a lot of those. My actual job as Iraqi Afghan, I actually got 2 job titles. I'm a special field rep for the VA, special operations field rep, is that cool? And I am the GWAT Global War on Terrorism or Iraqi Afghan outreach counselor, and I work a lot with post-traumatic stress. I also am trained in all the benefits. I do everything but give a physical, so I have a lot of knowledge out there. And I don't just help and assist those veterans, I help them from all war periods, because that's what I do. Vet Centers is free for any combat vet or victim of what we call military sexual trauma, to include Vietnam era veterans. We provide a lot of counseling and other methods to help with post-traumatic stress. You can file a claim for it, just in case you're a World War II vet, you don't want to come in because you're too tough for that. That's for somebody else. You really should consider doing that. I've got some World War II vets. I got some groups. You know, a lot of people like individuals, but these groups are kind of cool because it also gives you a social venue. You know, this is probably the first time you've seen another veteran or this many veterans, except for maybe at a VFW or American Legion. Look around you. These are your friends. I knew what it was like to come back and go back and see the guys I grew up with. I didn't have anything in common with them, but I got a lot in common with a vet, and I know what I'm talking to when you know. So join that social network. Come down there. So I got one. It's called the WOW. Wise Old Warriors. I love that name. But I need some infusion in there, and I'm located at 100 North Mullen Road. And that's out in the Spokane Valley. Take the Argonne exit. Mullen is the opposite of Argonne. I'm right up, kind of off Sprague. In case some of you were wondering, it's not that far from the Deja Vu. That's a little club where you can go eat lunch. Yeah. Anyway, I encourage everybody here to file for their service-connected disabilities. It's something you're entitled to. And I hear this stuff, especially from World War II and Korean War vets. Oh, I don't want to take away from somebody. It's an open checkbook. They recognize that you guys have served your country. You put your bodies in positions that nobody else does. That's a fact. If I asked you and you had a back injury, I told you to touch your toes, you'd do it anyway, even though you're in pain. Okay? It's not what you want to do. Okay? You expect any pilots in here? Anybody flew on aircraft? Okay, I'm going to tell you what. I've never met anybody that was an aircrew member that didn't have a back problem. Straight up. Mainly because they have hard landings and you guys never write them up. But one thing I did note is I'm 100% service-connected veteran, and I do know through Tom's hard work that I had one of my counselors really had a bad, nasty accident. He was being able to provide them with long-term health care because he was over 70% disabled, and I want to thank you for that. But you need to know those numbers and what they mean. Aid and attendance is real. Aid and attendance isn't just for people that have what he said, non-service connected, pension, all those other things. Your best bet to get and keep your money, if you want to get aid and attendance, is to become a disabled veteran. Normally tied to 30% or more, but like I said, each number means something, okay? And they owe it to you. They owe it to your wife, okay? Like they said, death indemnity compensation, DIC. You die of a service-connected disability, or you're 100% rated, you die of anything, and you hold it long enough, you can your spouse take care of. Wouldn't that be something that you sleep better about at night? I mean, that's what you got in this world is your spouse. Kids up and go. Who's with you today? Turn around, look to your right, and look to your left. Okay? And you can cut me off anytime if I'm talking too much, but asbestos. Everybody in here, anybody got a lung problem, got asbestosis? Especially Navy vets, everybody it's covered in everything. They were just starting to get rid of it as I was going out the door, okay? They weren't doing a great job with it either. Don't file disability yourself, don't ever do that. Get a service organization to represent you. They will fight for you. The real fight comes when they deny your claim or that they give you a lower than what you should have rating. That's when the service organizations really kick in and go to fight for you. So no matter what the rating is, you get a second review. We call it a notice of disagreement. Even before you do an appeal, you have a lot of rights. So don't give up. DD 214. Somebody said here from hospice, know where your documents are, and that was a very wise thing. You better know where that DD 214 is because you're going to need it even the day you get buried. I'm on the governing committee for the Eastern Washington, let's call it Eastern Washington, North Idaho Veterans Cemetery. And that cemetery was built, paid for by the Department of Veteran Affairs and now given under the control of the state. You're all entitled to be buried there. The plot is free. Your spouse can be buried there too. The committee had agreed that they're going to charge $250 or $300 to bury a spouse, which is really, really cheap. But I did not vote for that. I didn't want that. I wanted it to be like the National Cemetery. Any national cemetery, you both can be buried there for free. You all have to pay for interment, the casket, those things, but the actual digging and the burial, the plot, the headstone are free, the flag is free. You get a presidential certificate too by the president. You're entitled to a lot of stuff. You can sign up for that. And I know nobody wants to feel like you got one foot in the grave, but I'm going to tell you what, you don't want to be a burden on your family. We're getting older. If you want to be buried there, it's out on Espanola Road out by Medical Lake. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. You can pre-sign up for that, okay? Get all the paperwork done. They'll get a copy of your discharge paperwork, and it'll all be done. And I got the phone number at my office, or you can come down and got all the paperwork for it, or you can just go on to dva.wa.gov, which is the Department of Veteran Affairs for the state of Washington, and they'll show you the phone number. Rich Sessler, he's the cemetery guy, and he's really good. He's an awesome guy, trained veteran service officer, has a lot of knowledge. So I'm just going to urge you guys to take care of that business early. And forgive me if I'm speaking too long. C-Box. Somebody said, well, you know, you got limited health care, you know, out there where you go. I'm going to tell you something. The VA has, the last couple of years, made a really big stride. and I'm talking about the hospitals. They actually have community-based health care, little clinics. There's one in Coeur d'Alene, Wenatchee. They've given, they hired a bunch of docs up in Libya and different other places, contracted with them to do health care. I got to tell you, some of you people live in rural areas are going to get a lot better care than maybe even us in the city. So those things are out there. Tom and Cameron over here knows where they're all at. So there's almost nowhere you can go that you can't get VA care. You know, it's not right that you get wounded or you get injured and you have to travel. So those things are open now. There's health care all over the place. You're going to want that. Okay. If you make way too much money and you're using the VA, what do you think a co-payment would be? $15 a visit, $9 for medication. That's pretty cheap. Okay. Most of you will fit in a category where you're not going to have to pay for any of that. So I encourage you to use those facilities. Everything I do is free, F-R-E. Did I spell that right? If it had two E's, it wouldn't be free. Anyway, I just want to urge you all, if you got some post-traumatic stress issues, you got some marital problems, your relative is somebody that was killed on active duty, we do a lot of bereavement. Beyond the parade, I host a lot of ceremonies. I do Purple Heart Day, POW Day, and I make an effort to make sure we honor all our veterans. If you don't belong to a service organization, I urge you to do so, because you remember in the military we couldn't unionize, but those organizations go to bat for us. I think Post Falls, Idaho has one of the best American Legions I've ever seen in this nation. We hosted the Tri-State Women All-Female Veterans Conference there this year. John Dunlap, he's the commander over there, always has something going on. It's a beautiful new facility. So Post Falls, we got a lot of veterans. Somebody said we had 14,000 vets in this area. I just had to do a VIP package, and on the research that the VA gave me, there's actually in 2002 there was 36,000 vets in Coeur d'Alene and its outlying areas, which they predicted in 2006 would be 40,000. You got to remember, this is before the war on terrorism. And I'm sure it's a lot higher because every guardsman and reservist is now a combat veteran because they're all serving. So anyway, I'm going to close this because I went well over the time. I'm here for questions.